Hi there everybody, it's Verity here from inkybutterfly.com. Thank you so much for joining me again for another card making video for the Inspire Create Challenges design team. So our challenge this time around is a colour challenge. We are going to be using any blue, any yellow, any green. Okay, so there's absolutely loads of greens to choose from, and blues for that matter. So the world really is your lobster on in terms of picking the colours. You just got to go with the general theme. So in front of me at the moment I've got colours that all sit in the subtles colour family. So that's balmy blue, lemon lolly and soft sea foam. And I have made this card using the Layers of Beauty decorative masks primarily. Okay, we've got the sentiment from the coordinating stamp set. There is a die set as well with this, but we're not using that today. Okay, so that's the main features of the card, and we've got a bit of embossing and stuff as well. So so this is what I made as my sort of first pass, my first inspiration card. Okay, using all those subtle colours. But as you know, I like to share an alternative. Okay, so we're moving away from the subtles. Let's pop those over there. Almost took out my blending brush stand. And we're going to switch in colours from the Regals. Okay, so I'm deliberately doing them in the colour families because that's a convenient way to shop. But of course, you use whatever you like. Okay, so we've got garden green, crushed curry and blueberry bushel. Not colours I go to a lot, but you know, sometimes we have to stretch that comfort zone and use colours that we wouldn't normally. Okay, so that's what we're going with. Okay, so let's just pop this to one side just for a moment or two. Could do with something to stamp on. So there you go. Let's see. I've got a larger piece of scrap here, which is going to do the job, I'm sure. And we'll probably be able to get our layer out of it as well. Okay. So we're using the deckled circle. That is not a circle. That is a rectangle. I'm going to use the deckled rectangles to cut out the frame and give it this sort of shabby sort of look to it as well. And we've got the painted texture. There we go. You can see that better now. To kind of make it look like it's been painted, funnily enough. Okay, so okay, let's grab this. Let's grab some scrap or some grid paper. There we go. So I've got some grid paper here that we can put behind this. Okay, and sort of keep everything kind of in place. So it might just secure that corner there. And with our stencils, or masks I should say, there's 5 in this set, and they're all numbered, so there is a number on there somewhere. I'm hoping that catches in the light. It's hard for me to tell on the camera whether that's catching or not, but anyway, there's a number there, okay, for you to be guided by. Doesn't mean you have to use them in that particular order, but you know, that guide is there for a reason, so let's use it. Okay, so I think I'm going to line this up on this left hand margin here, and this little notch here helps us with our alignment. So let me just make that notch there. Just realised that's a little bit high on the screen, so you probably can't see what I'm doing. So I've just put a pencil mark across the top of that, where that notch is, okay, which will help us line up the rest of the elements later on. Okay, in fairness, it's quite easy to line up, so you'll probably find that it's more of a guide and a helping hand and a starting point rather than something you want to too worried about. And then, because as a one piece of tape you can still get some movement this way, I'm going to just secure that at the bottom as well. Okay, so we're going to do mixed flowers. Okay, so this first mask has both the little flowers and the big flowers on. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use the smaller blending brushes today so that we can be a bit more controlled with where the colour goes. Okay, let's pop open our ink pads. Okay, so I'm going to have these running across the top of the my workspace here, and if you kind of you can kind of link them together a little bit on the so if you leave them open just slightly, they sort of interlock with each other, which means that they kind of are a bit more stable. So they're just going to be at the top of that page there. Might be just out of view though while we're working, but you know that they're there, and we're just going to use our brushes to go over the top of those, but they're up there. All right. Okay, so I think I might just start with the green actually. I'm just going to make sure that there's no I'm just going to have another piece of scrap that I can make sure I can clean off brushes with, so your residual ink on there, and then you want to pick up some ink, make sure it's all nice and primed. Okay, and you might want it for the first layer, I only want it pale, so I'm taking off most of that ink and just popping that on to these little elements, which will go on to add to the leaves. And I'm just trying to avoid going into that open space in particular here, but you know what, it's not the end of the world if you do. And you can kind of, the ink sort of sits on top, so you can almost brush it into the openings as well. Okay, and then just to minimise any carryover, I'm just going to get a soft, just a facial tissue that I'm just going to use just to wipe away that excess ink, because everything we're working with today will combine together. So the yellow and the blue will make a green and stuff. So and then obviously shades of that with all the other colours. So we don't really want them to mix too much. Now on the so we'll use the yellow for the smaller flowers, and again I'm taking that off and making this nice and light. And you know, if you don't quite get it all, I think that's fine too. So we'll just pop that in. Okay, and I say it's not perfect, and again we can wipe that ink away before we come in with the blue. So this blue is going to be quite dark, so let's just make sure that's all nice and soft. And for this one, I'm not going to go over the whole of the opening. I'm just going to go around what I would consider the outer edge of the petals, which is sort of this area and this area. Now we're getting very close to that yellow flower there, so again you might want to just sort of you know, use your wrist or turn the paper or whatever it is that you need to do to try and avoid going into that too much, because that's going to make that look green otherwise. And likewise with this flower, I'm going to go, might need a little more ink. I'm just going to go across this portion really, in the main anyway. And it will build up as well, so you can do a little light layer, but then concentrate more of the ink on this top portion here. And again, we can sweep in some of that excess from the stencil, mask, whatever you want to call it, so it's not going into waste. Okay, so we've got this nice sort of faded portion in the middle. I hope that's coming across okay on camera. Okay, so again we can use the tissue in the same way, push it back in, or just take it away entirely, and that's just cleaning it down, ready for next time really. That just gets the excess ink off, right? You want to clean it properly before you put it away though. Okay, So we can lift up that, take off the tape so we can reuse it. Okay, and we'll get stencil number 2. We've got a little notch that will help us sort of get it somewhere close to where it needs to be, and then you can just eyeball that and make sure things look like they're being covered up. Okay, and again we'll start with the green. Okay, just going over those little bits. So as you layer up the ink, you know that's going to intensify what's already there, and lay down another layer in the background. Okay. Wipe that away. Let's do our yellow. Curry. Again, taking off a lot of the ink. So whatever's covered up from that first layer is going to remain pale. But this area that we're doing now is going to be intensified. Okay. And go round and round and round on that. And get that covered. And again, you know, swiping the ink or wipe it away, because we're going to go in with the blue. Want to be careful no ink transfers from your tissue as well, okay, or the cloth or whatever it is that you're going to use. So I just want to minimise any ink that we might pick up when we're doing the rest of it. So back to the blueberry bushel, and again we will take off a lot of the ink. You can add more, but once it's on, it's on. So go steady and build that up. Okay, seems like a waste, but I promise it's there isn't a lot of ink that's being used here, and you can bring that in from the mask material as well. It's another way you can kind of preserve the ink. It can be on here ready for you to sort of pick up with your next layer. So we could do that, so we could brush it off there, but then bring it in from that like a palette almost. If you see what I mean. So there's ways to be frugal. And again, I'm not going over all of it with the same intensity. I'm leaving a bit open in the middle here. Just a touch more there. Okay, and that will do it. Okay, so this is just a dry tissue, by the way, as well. So when you're cleaning it down properly, it will come away with some water. Doesn't take long, and they will stain a little bit with the pink inks and things, but again, won't do them any harm. So let's do layer number 3. So that's coming up, building up really nicely. So this is another sort of reminder, I guess, that even though you might have limited colours in your collection, if you've only just joined Stampin' Up or started paper crafting generally, whatever your story is, if you haven't got loads of supply, it doesn't mean that you can't be creative with what you're making. So there's 3 inks that I'm using here in a combination, which means that we will get all this nice shading without having, you know, I don't need 3 yellows to do this, I only need 1. Okay. Equally with the brushes as well, this is the same brush that I used for all the projects. You just keep scrub off the excess colour on some paper. Some people wash their brushes, I don't. I think they're one of these things that get better the more you use them. A bit like a wok, or you know, one of your favourite pans or whatever. So no green on this layer. Then we're going to go in the blue. So again, I'm taking it off, and then I can intensify it if I want to. Okay. So we'll make the tips of that quite dark, but we'll start off light. And then a bit more around here. If you want to apply more pressure, hold your brush head like that. So this one to go now. So we'll go over it. Coming in from the outer edge again. Okay. So trying to, like I say, not make it just a blanket flat kind of colour. That's what I'm trying to achieve, alright? Okay, so again, just trying to minimise any carryover, but that's the last layer anyway. So, whoops, I'm taking the paper with me. So, the next two stencils basically fill in our foliage. Okay, so just get that lined up, and you'll see, particularly here and here, there are nice areas where you can see it lines up nicely with the flowers. My little marks are doing their job and at least getting me in the right starting point. Okay, so really want just the green now. Okay, and again we'll take that off and we will start off light and come in at the from the outside in to give that sort of faded look. Almost starting off on the stencil material itself and then coming in. Ooh, forget to talk when I'm concentrating like this. It's very relaxing, seeing that colour build up and blend in, and these smaller brushes really help with that. I don't actually use these a great deal. Quite often I'm doing larger areas, so the bigger brushes are obviously better for that. And I have used the large brushes to colour these stencils, but I was just going for very much a kind of very quick and fast project. Taking a bit more time with this one, and I hope you appreciate that extra time. Of course, I'm sure some of you have already hit that speed up button, but those of you who are watching in real time, I think it's really satisfying when you get this really nice result. Okay, and I can see certainly. I don't know how well it comes up on the camera actually. Okay, how lovely and faded some of those areas are, sort of here, and this one kind of fading out. Okay, and just to give it a bit more depth, and again we can drag this ink in to push around that edge if you want to. So the last stencil, number 5, whoops, let's pop that back into place. Number 5 is just that extra detail on those leaves. So again, we'll build it up and bring in some more depth in the colour with that garden green ink. So here's our brush again, take off some of the ink, and again we'll come in from the top downwards, on that. And slowly build that up. Okay, so generally speaking, we're moving in circular motions. Might do these ones a little darker. It's a nice variation. Nature isn't uniform, is it? Okay. So a little bit of light and dark here and there. A bit more in here. Have a bit more intensity down here. Just want to sort of use the colour to frame it a little bit. It's got definite edges to it. And so just trying to bring in some of that residual ink rather than taking too much from the ink pad every time. Right, that looks good enough to me. Okay, so you can spend lots of time on this, or you can do it real quick. Okay, so like I say, I'm taking a bit more time today. Okay, and then those will be washed properly and thoroughly when I put them away. Okay, so how's about that then? I think those colours have worked very well together. Okay, what do you think? A bit of a contrast to those, isn't it? Mind you, I haven't done the inking over the top yet or anything, but you can see they are brighter, more rich colours, as we would expect from those regals. Okay, so let's just pop these away just for a minute or two. While we do some die cutting. Okay, so we're going to bring in the deckled rectangles. No, those aren't them. Where are my deckled rectangles? There they are. These are the deckled rectangles. We're also going to need one of these stitched circles as well. That's from Stylish Shapes. A little magnetic thing that I can keep that on. So we want a white layer in the larger one. There's not going to be enough room on that, is there? No. And then we're going to cut the actual panel itself from the one that's 2 sizes down, the next size down. Okay, so I should have done that ahead of time, shouldn't I? But what I'll do is I'll get that die cut out. Oh, there we go. I found a nice offcut that I can probably use for the white layer there. And then I'll tape down this. So what I'm going to do is, obviously this die is going to cut off some of the edge pieces. But what I'm trying to do is make sure that it's just sort of the green that I'm taking off. So I'm going to get in as close as I can to this yellow flower, blue flower and this yellow flower to maximise all that colour that we've got in there. Okay, and we're going to tape it in place and we're going to get that die cut. Okay, so I'll be back in just a minute or two. So we've got the panels die cut now. I'm going to now use our lovely textured embossing folder. This is a 3D paint texture. It is an online exclusive as well, so you will find it in the online store. All the links will be in the description to everything I've used, so you can check that out. So that's going to go through my big boss here, and all the instructions are right there on the machine base plate, so that you can you know exactly which plates you need to use. It's really easy to do. Okay, and that texture is just absolutely phenomenal, right? Okay, it really makes it look like a painted canvas, which is exactly what I wanted to achieve. and we're going to bring back this piece of scrap that I was just using just for the blending there, and I'm going to take my yellow brush first, take off like most of that ink, and we're just going to run over some sections of this, and I'm not really being overly fussy with it. And then I'm just going to do just some touches of the green as well. The point being just to take off a little bit of that stark white look, make it look a bit more sort of I don't know, sun bleached and worn, and you know, like old paintings can look. Give that sort of yellow hue to them. Okay, so that's kind of done that, and also acts to sort of emphasize some of that texture. And with the blue brush, we are just going to run around the very, very, very edge of this, ever so slightly. It's probably barely discernible from where you guys are, but when we put this against the white card base, it will be more apparent. So as I'm going around, I'm obviously going over a couple of times because the ink's faded off. Okay, but now if I pick out my card base, you can definitely see, hopefully, yeah, that there's a little bit of definition there. Okay, so nothing's happening with this one. This one's staying flat. Okay, so we're going to do the layering now. So we'll just I've already I said what I do is I sort of sit and do some die cutting and stuff, and trim down card bases and things when I'm having a bit of a mental block, or I just want to just sit and do something in my craft room and watch some telly or something. So I'm going to use wet glue because there's a whole heap of texture on this. Okay, and we'll just get that stuck on. Okay, and you could pop some of your stamp blocks or whatever can go on there just to help hold that down. Just applies just a little bit of pressure to that if you need it. Okay. But while we're waiting for that to firm up, we can decide on what we are going to do with our sentiment. Okay, so this was the bit that I die cut that out of. So I'll just take away those little scrabbly bits. And we need to decide what ink we're going to use for our sentiment. I used the blue for that one to bring out the flowers. I honestly think that we could probably use anything. Might stick with the drill and just go with the blue as a nice. I like blue. So grateful for you. Is what's going on there. So nice light tapping on your stamp, straight down. Firm pressure, like I'm not pressing hard, I'm just pressing firmly, so it's nice and flat. Hold it down for a couple of seconds and lift it straight up, and you'll get a good image. It's just a case of practice, and then we can use our little stitched circle here to die cut that out. Okay, that only takes a moment. Okay, so this is where we're at the moment. A bit more impact than this one. Okay, but as I say, you know, the choice of colours is entirely up to you. We've got our brights as well. We could have used. So Azure Afternoon is one of the colours in the brights family Daffodil Delight. Then you've got Granny Apple Green or Lemon Lime Twist that you could use in the Brights family. So there's our sentiment, which is going to really pop from there because it's, you know, that's full strength ink. Okay, so that's ready to go. And we'll pop a dimensional at 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock on there, ready for when we attach it, because we want to put some ribbon on first. So the ribbon is actually our sheer ribbon with the silver edge. This might actually be a ribbon I'll finish. I might actually need more of this one because it's very, very nice. It's because it's sheer, it goes with everything. Silver goes with everything, so it's very, very useful to have in your stash. But I've done something a little different with it. Rather than just wrapping it round, we are twisting it. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is secure it on the back. It's about there. Oops. And then let's just take off that excess little bit there. So we can secure that on the back like so. I'll just get rid of that. It's all sticking to me. But we're going to twist it, so we need a fair bit of this this ribbon, and I'm going to start twisting it from the back side and then bring it round to the front a little bit, probably about that much. So a fair bit of ribbon. There might be enough at the end to snip off and do our knot. If you start from the well, start from the back side, but in theory we're going to be you know, it's all got to twist up basically. I'm going to twist it. So what I didn't want was it to just sit flat and everything, so I wanted to do something different, but I wanted to bring in some shine. I thought this would be a good way to do it. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going with this. Keep going. And it'll buckle up a bit, but once you wrap it round and you've got enough of it, because obviously it shortens as you go round. Okay, so I'm going to secure that now. So what I found was I needed my reversible tweezers from my Stampin' Editions, Embossing Editions kit. I'll hold that in place while I just snip off this excess piece, which will be perfect for tying our knot. And then now I've got my hands back, I can get that nice and tight and secure that. Okay, if you feel like it needs more, then put more on, but you get this different look. It's very textured, but you get that sort of more haphazard kind of look rather than just that straight ribbon across the middle. Okay, so I just thought that was something different. I don't know why it entered my head to do that, but it did while I was doing it. I thought, oh, what can I do that's different? So there you go. Right, we're just going to loop that underneath now and tie it into a knot, she says, making it look really hard when it's not, and just tie a really nice tight single knot. You can double it up if you want, because it's such a fine ribbon, a single knot is quite secure. Trim it down to what you want, which is about there. And again, just to add another little bit of something, I've actually sliced up the middle of this to make it look like a nice thin ribbon that we've tied twice. Try not to cut it off though. Okay, be careful with it. Okay, so there you go. Or you could tie a couple of pieces around it and do it that way. But I just thought, again, it's another little bit of extra texture and fun to do something different with your ribbon. Okay, cookie. So now we can pop that onto the card base, and because of all that bulk on the ribbon, we are going to need dimensionals for that, because it's not going to sit flat with that there. So let's do that. A couple on these sides because I don't want it to sag in the middle. So, as I said at the beginning, this is a design team card, so everybody else will have made their cards with these 3 colours. I'm sure you'll see lots of different interpretations and mixtures of colours, so lots of inspiration to be had. So the deckled rectangles are sized for the American A2 cards, so you will end up with a deeper border top bottom than you will left and right. Okay, just in case you're wondering. My 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock didn't quite work out on those dimensionals, but we'll go with it. Okay, and you might want some liquid glue behind that to make sure that that sticks to all that texture. But just for now, we'll just secure that with those dimensionals, and we'll just put a few of our basic rhinestones on so that they are, so obviously those are clear embellishments that we can use, and they come in a mixture of sizes, which is even better. Absolutely love that. And don't forget, it's an odd even number. An odd number always looks more pleasing. And sort of guide your eye down the page or down the design. Okay, so there we go with our regals, okay, which were blueberry bushel, garden green and crushed curry. Okay, and then this was with our subtles, which was balmy blue, lemon lolly and soft sea foam. Did you hear my mind go blank then? So you could totally have gone to town and made this way deeper in colour, okay, as well. So you can play with the intensity and everything else, mix up your colours, and of course you don't have to use blue and yellow, of course. You could use anything you like, alright. So there we go, that's that challenge card done for you. Please do check out what everyone else has made, and do upload your entries as well. We'd love to see what you make and what colours you choose. Thanks ever so much for joining me today. Don't forget to give some thumbs up, subscribes, all that kind of stuff. Press the bell, you'll be notified when I post a video. Do at least one a week, but there's other ones in between every now and again as well. Thanks ever so much for joining me. Stay safe, take care, and I will see you again soon. Ta-ta!